Greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome in today for episode 101 of the Pod Ones podcast. I'm your host, Char J, joined by my co-host Luke.
Hey, how's it going, everybody?
Hope everyone's having a fantastic Thursday night. Today we're going to be covering season 3, episode 20 of Star Wars Rebels, known as Twin Sons. We're going to be diving into Darth Maul, Obi-Wan Kenobi, Ezra, a little bit of old wounds. But we got 2 guests on today to talk about this episode. We would have 3, and obviously you can tell Hereth's not here, but this will be a fun episode. So stay tuned. We're going to dive into the conversations right now. Luke, we ready to go?
Yes, sir.
Let's do it.
The Jedi Knights are all but destroyed, and yet your task is not complete, Inquisitor. The Emperor has foreseen a new threat rising against him. The Podwans Podcast.
And we are back. Okay, so our first guest is a returner to the Pod Ones podcast. I think he holds the mantle as the most appeared guest on our show. He's even hosted episodes. He's subbed in for me for episodes, and he's here to talk about Twin Sons. Let's bring in Chase at Forward Into the Black. Not Chase, not a Kyber.
Oh man, I wish I were not a Kyber, but I'm not. Hi, how you guys doing?
Oh, is that just because then you'd be dating me? Is that what I'm?
That's the only reason.
I know. I'm just so awesome.
I just noticed, why is your name Jedi Master Eggs?
Because I'm
that's the
promoting.
TT, baby.
Yeah, I got my own profile, bro. Go follow it. TikTok, Instagram, Twitter. Check it out.
All right, Chase, how are you doing, man?
I'm doing well.
And not too long ago. I mean, you were judging some of our trivia matches, so
yeah. I haven't been on the podcast in like 2 or 3 months, I don't think.
Yep.
Really? It's been that long? I don't know,
It's
but
like
you've
probably
been on for
early
a
season
while.
3. Yeah.
You've been on. This is like your 30th appearance on our
I
show.
don't know, something
Probably.
But I mean,
I'd say
we love having you on. You're such a fun person.
Always
to
a
listen
great
to.
time.
You're such a fun personality to listen to, and you add so much to the conversation. But Chase,
Thanks.
where can the good people find you on social media?
You could find me at Forward Into the Black on TikTok and Twitch. Usually talking about Star Wars, talking about Star Citizen, and now in September, probably talking about Starfield coming up. So anything that has a star in it. Yeah, I'm really excited about that.
Is it linked with Star Citizen?
No, it is going to dethrone Star Citizen, as the internet says.
Question, Chase. Is there a second monitor below the one that's behind you? Do you have 2 monitors?
There's this monitor and this monitor.
On the top monitor there, I can just imagine the Battlefront, the OG Battlefront, the you know what I'm talking about from the first Battlefront.
Yeah, but no, thanks for coming on, Chase. Should be
course.
A fun conversation.
Yeah.
All right, and our second guest coming on today, he has appeared before on the Pod Ones podcast. He's appeared for a Kenobi episode, and he's a current competitor in our Star Wars trivia tournament. Let's bring in Casey at Swacer 1977.
Hello there, everybody.
What's going on, Casey? How are you?
No, I'm great. Doing swell.
I noticed you got your Ezra and Sabine pops. It's like
do.
It's like you came prepared.
I try to be on theme when we're talking about things.
I feel that.
Well, all I can say is that we're in crunch time for Ahsoka, so this is
yes.
The excitement is getting higher and higher, and just rewatching this episode today just got me way even more excited for Ahsoka, just to see everyone come into live action. But Casey, where can the good people find you on social media?
Yeah, primarily on TikTok. Swacer1977 is the handle. I do exist other places as well, YouTube, Instagram. Same handle for everything.
Okay, and also, as I mentioned before, you are competing in our trivia tournament. We will not say what your results were for the first match. He did go up against ND Wise Guy, Nick. And I'm from what I see, that was a pretty entertaining match.
It was real fun to partake in.
Yeah.
There you go.
You guys will find out the results of their match probably within the next few weeks.
Yep.
But yeah, it's good to have you on, Casey.
Thank you for having me.
As it's a pleasure. Luke, are we do we have an icebreaker?
Yep. I got an icebreaker. So If you've paid attention to our 60 guess that Star Wars character in 60 seconds or less, Char sort of answered a question that about Luke Skywalker, whether he was in a TV show or not. Well, the comment section went wild, saying that doesn't count. Everybody in the chat and our two guests, do you consider the last 10-ish seconds where we see Luke run across the homestead? Do you count that as like a TV appearance?
Luke Skywalker is in Kenobi, Book of Boba Fett, and Mandalorian. So he's in
That
a TV
too.
show. He's in a TV show. He's also in the Muppets.
Well, no, Luke. No, the question wasn't if they were in a TV show or not. It was asked
wasn't
if they were in Rebels.
Oh yes, sorry.
And I said very little, not
Yeah.
just
Would you?
figuratively, but physically too.
Would-
even
would
though it's
you-
literally 2 years prior to A New Hope.
Okay. Well, then I botched that. Sorry. No, but would you consider that him being in the show?
I would. He does
Yeah.
appear. His name is called.
Yep. It's kind of like, is Max Rebo in Return of the Jedi? Like, yeah.
Yeah, it's a cameo. It's a cameo appearance.
It's like when they do at the end of the credits, special guest star. Like not a full
Yeah.
role, but like they're there. Although he didn't say any lines, I don't think, right?
No.
No,
You just hear Aunt
just
Beru.
sprinting.
Yeah, him just running, which is funny because apparently they used Ezra's season 1 like body for Luke running across. So it's not like actually Luke, it's like supposed to be Ezra's like body double that they used or
Oh.
something like that. It was interesting. I saw that on one of the comments that I had, but a lot of people were like, "No, it doesn't count." I'm like, are we really
counts.
gonna go there? Like
counts.
it should count because it's like you hear Aunt Beru yell his name, and that is obviously the Lars homestead. Like I get like some of the homesteads on Tatooine all kind of look alike, but it's like that's distinct. Like Obi-Wan's going there. There's a reason why he's going there. Like he wouldn't just go to some like hodgepodge like moisture farm.
Oh
You
yeah,
know
it's
what I mean?
definitely him. The Force theme then plays at the end of the episode too.
Yes. Yeah, it does. So we're all in agreement that does count and that
Yeah.
Char answered that correctly.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, why wouldn't it be considered an appearance? He's there. The name is
know.
called. You can hear Beru saying the name.
It was a weird comment section, man. It was so
Yeah,
weird. It was so
the
strange.
the video popped off.
Yeah,
And it was
Yeah.
it was weird.
it was
They're like,
very
oh
strange.
yeah, Luke was never in that show, but you got to look closely. You got to look closely.
Yeah,
Even though it's like
I
right
think
there.
if you were to say like, is he in the show? Very little. Like Wedge Antilles is in Rebels very little. Like I think the appropriate answer to that question is Luke Skywalker in Rebels, and then it is like the answer is like for a brief second.
yeah, or a brief couple of
Well, I
seconds, yeah.
mean, for Wedge has been in multiple episodes, so
Mhm.
I don't think he was in
He's
there
in
a
like
little.
he's in like 3 or 4 episodes out of
You would just say yes, he was
60.
in there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, Wedge is. How many episodes is Wedge in? I think
He's in,
3.
like 3 or 4.
3 or
Yeah.
4. Yeah, because
He's not a main
in-
character by any
Oh,
stretch of
no.
imagination.
No, he is a.
He's in it a
side
little
character.
bit.
Yeah, he's waiting for the films to get his attention. You know.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, hopefully we get it.
Yeah,
in Rogue
the ones that came
Squadron.
out like 30 plus years prior.
But yeah, that was kind of the icebreaker question. Thanks. We are trying out a new format, by the way, guys. We're not really doing the story, blah blah blah, stuff like that. But I am gonna give a quick synopsis. Basically, TLDR in 30 seconds. Maul's using Ezra to get to Obi-Wan. Ezra goes to Tatooine with Chopper. They get into a scuffle with the Tusken Raiders. They blow up the ship. They go through the desert. Chopper powers down. Ezra kind of goes, meh. Obi-Wan finds them. Maul finds Obi-Wan. Obi-Wan kills Maul. Then cut to Ezra going back to the Rebels base and apologizing for leaving, and then we see Obi-Wan going to the Lars homestead, and then that's where the episode ends. So we're gonna cut straight to the fight. What was your first reaction to seeing the final duel between Kenobi and Maul?
I watched Rebels really late.
Yeah,
I watched all the animated series really late.
But which one did you see first? The best one?
Resistance
There
was
you go.
finished first. So I knew what happened. I had seen it on, Instagram videos, TikTok videos, all the edits out there. I've seen the fight before, and it is like a 3-second fight. But I was like, oh my God, this is how Maul dies. Like, wow, they actually killed Maul in Rebels. Like that's like I thought it was an interesting place. Like the show was an interesting place to kill off Maul. But I remember when I actually watched the episode, I was like, this is so well done. Like actually sitting there watching it, watching the build up, watching the aftermath, and not with like the crazy effects and the different music that everyone has put to it. Like just watching it purely, I was like, this was nice. Like this was a nice treat. Like this was well done. This felt very grown up. And I really liked it. I like that duel a lot. I like just the whole moment. I like, not that I like it, but just the fact that everyone dies in Obi-Wan's arms. Like
Jesus, yeah,
That's a good point, though.
You like that?
everyone
True.
dies.
It's true.
Like everyone dies in Obi-Wan's arms, including his like arch nemesis.
I mean,
Qui-Gon dies.
Qui-Gon dies.
Sabine dies.
Satine, yeah, Satine dies.
Or
Tragic
Satine
parallels.
dies, I'm sorry.
Absolutely tragic.
Could you say Padme dies in his arms? He's technically holding Luke.
Yeah. Maybe I should say he's very close to everyone
yes.
who dies.
Yes. Yeah. And that's including
He's the Reaper, but not the one that's
opposite.
causing the pain.
Yeah.
He's just there to be a part of
Oh
it.
gosh, what's her face? From Kenobi.
Tala.
Tala, yeah.
Tala dies in Obi-Wan's arms.
Ah, man. This man is like, he's like, all right. Instead of the Ghostbusters, it's like, who's going to die? And who's going to be there when they die? Obi-Wan. And it's like, dude, geez. That's just.
Don't get close to Obi-Wan. You'll probably die.
Technically, Haley, he does. He is there. Obi-Wan is technically there when Anakin dies.
Well, Anakin didn't die.
Oh my god.
He dies in Return of the Jedi.
Yeah, he dies.
Yeah.
Obi-Wan is dead. Obi-Wan
Yeah.
is dead when Anakin dies.
But we'll find out. We'll find out in the Return
Obi-Wan
of the Jedi.
didn't grant Anakin the privilege of dying in his arms.
Yeah. He just showed up as a Force ghost and goes, "What the fuck? How did he get that? That's not fair." No, but Casey, what was your reaction to it?
Yeah, so I think as I first started watching Star Wars Rebels on air Disney XD, I think it was a senior in high school, and so I caught the third season, which is where this episode is set, from the beginning. So episode 1 of season 3 is where I picked up. I watched the first 2 and then hopped on. And when this episode was airing, I just completely remember sitting on my couch in my living room. No one else in my family watched the show. So I'm just there by myself watching it on the TV. And my jaw was on the ground. I was like, oh my gosh, did that just happen? It was so awesome. It was epic, but I didn't believe that it was only as short as it was. And it took me a little bit. It wasn't that I didn't like it when it first aired. I loved it, but I was left wanting more. And it wasn't until afterwards where I got to hear the input and the insight from Sam Witwer, the voice actor for Maul, and Dave Filoni himself, and all of that kind of coming into context for me with the sheer amount of thought and care that went into crafting that moment, where you talk about Darth Maul's just complete blindness with his arrogance, constantly failing. They relate him to Sisyphus, I believe,
Yep.
is the mythology that they kind of took inspiration from. He's constantly trying to roll like this boulder up a hill, and he never learns. He never learns. And Obi-Wan, it's funny because Maul tricks Ezra into luring, Obi-Wan into this whole situation. But Obi-Wan himself is tricking Maul, because then he takes Qui-Gon's pose and everything, and Maul completely falls for it. And it wasn't until I caught all those little details that I was like, this is really just one of the best duels ever. And so when I watched it, I liked it, but I'm not going to lie and say that I wasn't like, man, I wish it was longer. But with context after the fact, it really is a pretty awesome moment.
I think it's one of the most impactful duels besides Duel of the Fates.
Yes.
In all honesty, it's the culmination. It's kind of like the build up around it, right? It's like Rocky 4, even though a lot of people don't like Rocky 4, which is
I love Rocky 4. Shut your mouth.
Which is hilarious.
That's the only Rocky movie I've ever seen.
No shit.
Thank you.
Wow. Well, it's just kind of like the culmination of like the fight itself just kind of builds up. Like these two characters have been, one has been the other one's rival, but the other one's like, I don't even really care that you're here. It seems like, you know what I mean? And like just the way, like what Casey was saying with Whitwer, kind of just like breaking it down. First he goes into Jedi Knight Obi-Wan, then he goes into Alec Guinness Obi-Wan, and then he finally goes to Qui-Gon, and Maul's like, ha, I've seen this before. And he goes for the offensive, and Obi-Wan just he just outmaneuvers him. I was kind of the same way. I was just like, whoa, that was quick. Like that's interesting. That is interesting, but yeah. Char?
Yeah, I was waiting for you to say my name. The first time I saw this, so yeah, I was right in the same boat as Casey. I was watching this live on Disney XD back was it spring of 2017 this came out?
Yeah, around
and that. I just couldn't believe how fast it was. Like at the time, I didn't really understand like that was it? Like all this buildup, years and years in the making, and then as I started to grow older, I was like, okay, Obi-Wan is on guard. He's a lot more mature than he once was 10, 15 years ago. So he's seen a lot of things. He's understood a lot of things. To see that Maul is the same person he was 20 years prior to this scene, and that Obi-Wan has evolved into this guardian, overseer for Luke, and to see him in action, because we never saw what it was like, because all we did was see what Obi-Wan did to Ponda Baba in the cantina. That was the only time where we see him use his lightsaber to defend Luke. But now we see him because Maul taunts him. He's like, "Oh, you're protecting something? No, protecting someone."
Yeah.
And then obviously just flips a switch in his head and is like, "Okay, well, I'm not Obi-Wan Kenobi. I'm General Kenobi." And then I remember I'm old Obi-Wan Kenobi, but then I'm the master you defeated, but I will avenge him. So it was a whole culmination of feelings and thoughts all in 3 seconds, essentially. And the way that Maul dies too, Luke and I have had conversations about this, about the dialogue between the two, because in that scene where Maul asks Obi-Wan, "Tell me, is it the chosen one?" And then Obi-Wan says, "He is." And then Maul says, "Then he will avenge us." And then he dies. Which Luke and I have talked about this. Who is Maul referring to here? Because Luke and I have had 15 to 20 minute long arguments about who he's talking about. I'm saying he's talking about Anakin. He thinks he's talking about Luke. But who what do you take from that dialogue?
He's talking about Cal Kestis.
Of course he is. But seriously, who do you think he's talking about? Is he talking about Anakin, or is he talking about Luke?
I think at that moment, I forget where I heard this. It may have been in actually a conversation with Chaco. This is going back a bit. I think in that point in time, Obi-Wan believes it to be Luke. This is how I kind of interpreted it, just because I think he feels that Anakin is so far gone, and just not that Luke is the chosen one, but from his perspective at that point in time, he believes that to be the case. I'm not saying that is the case. I'm just saying I think that's how I've interpreted it after some conversations with some other people.
Casey,
But I
we're
think
right. We're right. Don't worry. We're right.
I think there's an argument for both ways.
We are. It's your own separate opinions. Yeah, I see where you're going with that, Casey. Chase, what do you think? What's your interpretation of what
Maul doesn't know who Luke is. So, or like,
and that's
really,
the thing. He doesn't know who Anakin is either.
he knows Anakin. He knows
Well,
Anakin.
he does.
He's never met him.
Yeah, but
he heard of like he's heard that he is the chosen one, but he's never met Anakin.
But
and if you think about his end, like, okay, Chase, go ahead and
I think like hearing them, like, it's the same thing. Like, we all know who Taylor Swift is, right? But we don't know Taylor Swift.
Nope.
And she's the chosen one. So he's talking about Taylor Swift, obviously. But no, like
fandom that could potentially be worse than the Star Wars.
So if we look at the story of Maul from like where he originates in the Phantom Menace all the way up into Rebels, like he lived through the Clone Wars, and like Anakin, and especially if he's so close and looking, trying to take down Obi-Wan, he knows who Anakin Skywalker is.
Yep.
So I know who LeBron James is, but I mean, I don't know him. Like, I've never seen him like right here, right in front of me, like in person. Because from Siege of Mandalore, Ahsoka's talking like if Anakin was here, he would have, mollywopped you and everything.
He's very close, and like in an antagonistic sense, he's very close to Obi-Wan and very close to Ahsoka as well. Yeah. So that, on top of the fact that Anakin was a well-known, well-renowned general in the Clone Wars, of course he knows who he is. He was trying to get into the Jedi to get to Obi-Wan, so he's going to know it, and he will have most likely will have heard of the prophecy of the Chosen One and how Anakin Skywalker is the Chosen One. He doesn't really know that Anakin had kids. He doesn't really know that Luke is there, like 20 yards that way. I think they would have made it more on the nose. Like, they would have had Maul going to the Lars homestead.
Yeah.
If he was actually referring to Luke. What I think the dialogue is trying to convey is you have two people with two different perspectives. Is old Maul is essentially still stuck in the Clone Wars, and is just a relic of the past, and is now on his last breath. He's still thinking like, oh, is Anakin the chosen one? Will he avenge us? Obi-Wan is thinking, yes, he will, but not himself. He has already avenged us by giving us Luke and Leia. And they will bring balance to the Force. They will take down Anakin and Palpatine. So that's what I think is Obi-Wan is what he is telling Maul. But Maul is obviously going to, just understand it. All that matters is that Maul is being told that he will be avenged, that everything will be set right. His life, which was a total failure, will not have been in vain because of this.
That's an interesting perspective, because there's a lot of people that have their own separate reasonings for the Chosen One. And I like how you say that the reason why there is balance is because of Luke and Leia. It's interesting. And I want to dive on this for like Anakin's perspective. So Anakin defeated Palpatine. Maul's goal was to defeat Palpatine. Obi-Wan wanted the Sith to be destroyed. Who destroys the Sith? Anakin destroys the Sith. So it's a matter of like two different perspectives as to see what is balance in the Force. Is it 2 and 2? Is it the eradication of the Sith? Is it all of these different building blocks as to what could the proper justification be? But I don't know. Luke and I have had long conversations about this.
I will say no, but it ultimately does come down to who is writing the story at the time. It's just like how Stanley always used to say, whoever the strongest whoever the strongest superhero is who the writer decides is the strongest superhero.
Well, this is all leading
And
into Lucas's stuff. So Lucas is like Anakin's the chosen one.
no, well, yeah, I
But
I th- I think that the chosen one prophecy is generational. It's not just Anakin. That's
I've always
my
looked
hot
at okay. I look at the chosen one prophecy as Anakin is the chosen one, and it is a prophecy left unfulfilled.
Yes.
yeah,
Right.
Luke. I mean,
and it comes into fruition as the Force balances off, like we talked about with Luke and Leia. The Force is brought back to balance because of the twin sons. But yeah, no, it is. Yes, was Anakin the chosen one? Yes. Did he fulfill the prophecy? No. Was the prophecy fulfilled because of him having kids? Yes, but that was not his intention.
No.
The prophecy is a self-fulfilling prophecy. It needed Anakin as almost a conduit to fulfill itself, and he failed it, but the Force still brought balance through Anakin. That's how I've always kind of viewed it.
yeah,
Casey,
Casey, you look like you are curious about that.
Oh no,
perking up like a
that's
puppy
just,
dog.
it really is. It's a super interesting perspective. I've never thought of it that way. I don't know if I view it the same way, but I think that's one of the best parts about this franchise is that there's so many different ways that you can go about just kind of interpreting this story. Like, and I think that's a really awesome way to kind of go about it.
What's your perspective?
I think I think I am in the boat, which might be like, I guess, the mainstream boat where like Anakin did fulfill the prophecy to an extent, and then there's always going to be turmoil and darkness that kind of comes about in the galaxy. So there was that 30 or so years, the couple decades of relative peace and balance, and it kind of was thrown out of whack again. But I do really like that because I have, even while saying that, it is interesting because how accurate can a prophecy be if to restore balance to the Force and then to go back to imbalance. So I really do like that how you explain that, and I think maybe I might be more inclined to go that route too myself, actually, because that kind of made a lot of sense.
Yeah, and I mean, because like once the sequel trilogy finished up with Rey defeating Palpatine, it made everyone shift the thought process into saying Rey's the chosen one because she destroyed the Sith, even though the Sith weren't really back yet.
So this is my counter.
Like the Emperor said that he's died before.
This is
so like
this is how it fits into my idea of the chosen one. It's generational. Like somebody's got to pick up the mantle.
It's not the Avatar prophecy, dude.
But it's
not every 100 years.
But it is though. There's a chosen one in every trilogy.
There's only been one chosen one though.
Yeah, but she fits the prophecy, does she not?
Well, the chosen one's in from the main character.
No, I don't.
Chosen one.
I disagree. I would disagree. Politely disagree. Respectfully disagree. No, I don't believe that Rey is the chosen one. I don't think she fits that mold. I think what it is in a way, yes, generational, but this is a different prophecy. There is no prophecy regarding Rey. Darkness rises and light comes to meet it. Palpatine rises, Rey comes to meet that. And we see that we also see that in Ben, right? Is Kylo rises inside of Ben, but the light comes to meet it and takes that down. That is just the way that the Force works. Yeah. So while you could, if we go all the way back, right, you could probably find more prophecies, more, texts that say, oh, well, Bob Smith is gonna, defeat the Glarbos.
Well, Bob Smith?
Yeah. Like that's a prophecy from like 7800 BBY, right? Yeah. So like I think that the sequel trilogy does move away from the prequels quite a lot. And I think it does want to distance itself from the Chosen One prophecy, the midichlorians. I think I love the way the lightsaber fights kind of look in the sequels because it is 80 years removed from the Clone Wars. And so it's like, and we haven't had Jedi for 80 years or whatever. So no one knows how to do flips and spins
Yes.
anymore. And
Yeah.
it's all, it's like, it's clumsy and deliberate. So I love the way that those things work. But yeah, no, I don't think she is the chosen was ever written to be the chosen one. She is simply just the story that I think Rey is meant to tell is it doesn't matter who you are. You can always do something better for yourself and your community, despite who you are. And you can conquer your own demons. You can face yourself. Like she has to face herself in Palpatine. That's her own journey. And I would say it shouldn't be robbed because of Anakin.
Yeah. And
That's
like, I want to bring up this comment real quick. Chris says Snoke said that there's a chosen one of light and chosen of darkness. Darkness rises in light to meet it.
Yeah.
So
always.
it's interesting because the prophecy here is not the chosen one; it's the prophecy of the dyad. So much because you have Kylo, who's the dark, and then you have Rey, who is the light, and they come together. But at the time of the Last Jedi, we had no idea what the dyad was exactly. So obviously, they eventually dove into that more, and hence we're here with.
I mean, it's hinted at from The Force Awakens that there is something
true.
there's something
Yeah, there's
more
something-
than I kind of know where you are. Like kind of what Luke and Leia have. Like, oh, like I gotta like Luke and Leia have like Force email where like Luke can drop his Force pin location.
You have that
where,
that Pacific Rim technology.
Yeah, and Rey have like Force FaceTime.
That's a good way of saying that, though.
I've always been confused because I think I really love the concept of the dyad. I think it's great. I just, as far as like the minds melding and linking, they didn't be able to do like the kind of see each other until the events of The Last Jedi. But with Ben Solo being like a decade older than Rey, I was always confused as to kind of how like that works. Like did at 10 years old Ben just kind of have like a vision of Rey as she like is born into like the universe, and like at what point did they become the dyad?
That's a good question, because I don't think it happens until they come across each other.
It's not until they meet.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I think that would be my take, because it's like
Because the Force says so.
because we don't have any content.
Okay,
when does Snoke begin to corrupt Ben?
It's in the Rise of Kylo Ren comics.
How old is Ben?
Ben is.
I think anywhere between
25
is late teens to his early 20s.
Okay.
I'm not too specific.
Let me look it up in my timelines book.
I got the timelines book too. I got it a few days ago.
I got one over there, but I'm not going to grab it. I think because the Force brings people together. Like you're here because of the Force. Like the Force will guide you and guide the universe around you. The dyad was forming as it puts Rey and Kylo on Taco Donna together. Like there's a reason they were there together. The dyad was pushing that together.
Okay, that's a good one. All right, thank you. Because I was wondering how that kind of like initiated. That makes sense.
I mean, and you first learn more about it in Secrets of the Sith, because Palpatine is the narrator for that entire book, and he's explaining it and how it works, how often and how rare of a occurrence it is to see a dyad, and the power it brings within the Force.
Yeah.
So it was just a simple, like 2-3 paragraph explanation of what the dyad is.
Yeah.
And
I mean, even in the expanded universe, like Bastila and Revan are a dyad. Like 100% are a dyad. And I think there's that game, and the media around that game do a really good job of explaining kind of how that works with them. Obviously it's not canon, but it still is like a good reference of like what happens when two people are like so strongly connected, and basically like someone's mind can be completely destroyed and then be brought back fully just because of the connection that they have with another person.
Which is kind of true in it's not untrue in real life. We all have that one person that brings back feelings, and
I mean, have you seen 50 First Dates?
Yeah.
Okay.
Exactly.
That is the first canonical dyad.
Yes, I had my pancakes moment.
We went
Thank you.
100.
I
We went
appreciate
100.
that.
We went 100 episodes without it. 100 at first.
No, but yeah, I just because the whole Chosen One thing that sparked from this, it's just so confusing that Filoni would be like, okay, because I remember in Revenge of the Sith when they were on the LEAT, they were talking about how the prophecy could be misread and all of these different things about like,
hey,
okay,
you can
maybe it
blame
wasn't from
Lucas for that,
Anakin,
though.
maybe it was his offspring, maybe the offspring of the Chosen One could, fulfill what the prophecy should have been fulfilled years prior.
I think you're running into two things. You're running into media
A
that was
wall
written,
and a
yeah,
heartbreak.
you're running into media that was written out of order. So
Yes,
you gotta
agreed.
figure it out somehow. And the Chosen One came to be during the prequels that were about Anakin Skywalker. I do genuinely believe when the discussion is about the Chosen One, it is about Anakin.
So yeah, you got two over here, two over here. Okay. Hey,
Yeah.
Anakin Stan, how are you?
I mean, it's not. I think it's all about the context.
About what
I
exactly?
would go in the middle. I think that Maul is asking about Anakin.
Yes,
and
I would
Obi-Wan
agree
is
with that.
answering about Luke.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to say. The context.
Yeah,
is that,
I mean that's what makes it seem so interesting.
Yeah,
You can have so many different variations and versions of how you want to see the scene, and who's referring to who. Is Maul talking about Anakin? Is Maul talking about Luke? And is it vice versa for Obi-Wan's side?
Yeah.
It's so it gets
The
you
only
thinking a bit.
the only thing I think I have with that is I think, is it possible that Maul has no clue, like is just asking about like a complete stranger that he has no clue about? Because I think in season 7 of the Clone Wars, Maul is catching on to the fact that Palpatine is kind of seducing Anakin to become his apprentice. So I think my perspective is that
You're
Maul
onto
either has an
something.
idea. Maul either has an idea that Anakin became Vader and is one of the few people that might have an idea of that, or is like with the rest of the general population that Anakin died. That's just where I've kind of seen it as. So I think Maul just is kind of like completely clueless. But I do see what you're saying as well. Not clueless, but as far as who exactly it is.
No. So here's my thing, right? We have to remember that the holocrons showed things to each other.
Oh.
So there could have been a possibility that he could have seen Luke, a child, and Obi-Wan being there. It's a stretch. I know.
That's such a hypothetical, dude.
but it's not out of the realm of possibility, though.
No, I mean it's the Force. Anything is possible.
Yeah.
But I think as far as storytelling and guiding the viewer, I think to get to that conclusion that they would have put a lot more emphasis on. I think that Maul and Luke would have had an interaction in Rebels at some point to make that a reality.
Yeah, because I was like, there's so many different criterias of the Chosen One, because it's like a Chosen One shall come born of no father, and through him will ultimate balance in the Force be restored. Rey had a father, Anakin didn't. Luke had a dad, same as I said before, Anakin didn't. So it's like the main criteria is you have to be born from the Force, and Luke and Rey both had parents. So I don't know.
Yep. I mean,
like I said, Anakin had parent.
The only conclusion is that Taylor Swift is the real Chosen One.
Karma is Obi-Wan's boyfriend.
Obi-Wan's my boyfriend.
Okay. Yeah, that was quite the conversation.
God damn it.
Luke, go ahead.
Alanis is the Chosen One.
Alanis.
That's it.
No, because she did have a no, we do not need to get into this, right?
She's the Chosen One.
That right there says that Alanis does not have a father, so Alanis is clearly the Chosen One.
Happy Father's Day.
Happy Father's Day. You're now the Chosen One. You don't have a father.
I'm
you
kidding.
Be the Chosen
I don't.
One.
Oh my God. All right. Well,
Star Wars context.
Well, there we go. Emphasis on dead. See, dead. Have a father. Very ha ha ha. Anyway, Char.
What's up? How you doing? What?
You gonna ask the next question?
Oh yeah, I'll ask the next question. Because like as we just dove into arguably one of the best Star Wars lightsaber duels in the franchise, for me this is a top 3. But I just want to ask you guys, what is your favorite lightsaber duel in Star Wars? Because there's tons of them. There are tons in scripture. There's
Part of me
tons
wants to be
on the
shitty
films.
and be like all of the old Republic Star Wars cutscenes,
yeah,
which are great, but actually
the
not
Knights of
my
the Old
favorite.
Republic
But I'm like,
ones.
oh, Disney doesn't know how to make lightsabers. They need to make the Old Republic. And I'm like, go, stop watching those cutscenes. Go play that game. Shut the fuck up. I would say the throne, like Last Jedi throne room.
Ooh, that's a good one.
Is definitely one of my favorites. And like if I were to do like sequel, it's definitely the throne room. I really love the Rey and Kylo Death Star fight.
Yes,
that is like, man, like the fact that people hate that lightsaber duel, and I'm like,
it's strange.
You
It's
don't
very strange.
get Star Wars if you don't like that. It's like I think that one is even still faster than some of the original trilogy fights. But that one and that or Luke and Vader on Death Star 2.
Well, how about this? How about we go each trilogy?
Yeah, we'll go in a circle.
Oh,
We'll
that's-
go in a circle. We'll go in a circle.
Each
Okay.
of your fights, each of your favorite lightsaber duels.
Yep. Okay. All right. We'll start. Wait, hold on, because mine's not in the movies.
Prequel era, OT era, sequel era.
Yeah, so we'll go.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay. I'll go with my prequel. I'll say Battle of the Heroes. Just
Okay.
because the gravitas and like the amount of just like emotion that is seen by those two characters, like it's the story. Does it go on a little bit too long? Absolutely.
it goes on way too long. Are you
but-
kidding me?
The perfect amount of time.
I absolutely
For those
love
of you
it
in the
because of
chat, Google longest cinematic sword fight. You'll
yeah,
see a
it's-
specific
it's,
movie pop up.
It's Revenge of the Sith.
Yeah.
But that's
12 minutes.
That's my pick for the prequels. Is the Battle of the Heroes.
It's a 12-minute long fight. It takes up an eighth of the movie.
We'll go me, Swacer, Chase, and then back to Char, and then back to me.
So it's just sticking with the prequels. Yeah, Battle of the Heroes is my favorite of the prequels. It's also my number one. I do just love that. I used to go on YouTube just to rewatch. I can't tell you how many times I've just rewatched the scene by itself. I was obsessed with watching just the lightsaber battles, and
Yep.
I'd be sitting at lunch in high school and I would just watch it on my phone. And it really is my favorite. Not to mention the nostalgia behind playing that mission of Lego Star Wars, the complete saga,
yeah.
going up against your brother.
With a
knocking him
giant
into
heart
the lava.
bar.
Yeah.
No,
That one's my favorite.
no. And to like add on to yours, Casey, like when that movie came out, I was, what was it, 10? I was 10 years old. And I had me and my cousin learn all the choreography.
That's awesome.
So I would drag him outside and we would grab sticks and we would practice. And he would do Obi-Wan because obviously I wanted to be Anakin, even though I knew what happened to him. Like I knew a lot of those moves from like the age of 10, and that should have been my first cue that I was a big fucking nerd.
So Luke, I want to ask you. So when you were with your cousin, did you guys force push at the same time and then fly
Yes.
backwards?
Yes, we jump back. You got to sell it, man. You got to sell the bit. If you're going to do the Obi Annie, you got to do that scene and really sell it.
You know what? Like I used to do that, but on like trampolines. So we would like jump like Jedi, and we would be like huge attacks and everything. That was
yeah.
fun.
We used to do that with like me. Yeah, never mind. That's going on a tangent.
I one time ran into we turned off the lights in the basement of my friend's house. We had the light up lightsabers, like the extendable ones.
Yes.
And
Yeah,
he has like the big support pillars in like the center of the basement. And we were just going at it. And I like charged him, run, boom, right into like
Hell
face first
yeah.
into a concrete pole playing lightsaber duels.
That I resonate with that, Casey, because that was exactly how my my basement was. and I remember at least hitting my head on one of those cement pillars at least once a year, if not
fun.
more.
So I'll do a lightsaber duel and also do an embarrassing childhood Star Wars story.
Yes.
So lightsaber duel of the Fates. For the
Ooh,
prequels.
yes.
Definitely
Thank
Duel of the Fates. I really do like Battle of the Heroes. The thing I like the most about Battle of the Heroes is the 2 blue lightsabers.
Yes.
Going up against each other, like and with the red orange background, like it looks incredible. And it's like just watching that, like if you have like the base knowledge of Star Wars, you're like Luke Skywalker has a blue lightsaber, Darth Vader has a red lightsaber. That's blue is good, red is bad, and then all of a sudden there are 2 blue lightsabers, and like something is wrong here. So I really do like Battle of the Heroes, but I do think even just like the ignition of the second lightsaber from Darth Maul is just like probably the greatest moment of Star Wars.
Like it's like having sex for the first time.
I have no idea what that's like. But I think that is, and I did a video on this of like, as I've gotten more into social media and Star Wars community stuff and kind of dealing with that, like Revenge of the Sith has like slowly decayed in my mind. And like I now, like when I watch Battle of the Heroes, I watch it almost like someone from 2005, and I nitpick it now. Where it's like the goofy spinning for like 7 seconds where they don't hit each other.
But nowadays we pretend like those fans don't exist.
And I'm like, when they're like on the when they're on the little lava hover car platform things, and I'm like, so those things are catching on fire, but their cloth Jedi robes aren't. What force power stops that one? Because y'all got upset when Leia went into the vacuum of space and was fine, but when Obi-Wan and Anakin don't catch on fire, it's not a problem. It is a great fight. The symbology of it is incredible. But I think Duel of the Fates, I think this, I do think that the Battle of the Heroes score is really good. I just think the score of Duel of the Fates is just iconic. It is like
it's Duel of the Fates.
And I think just maybe this is a little bit more nostalgia of like just seeing how fast those lightsabers were swinging compared to like the last Star Wars movie you saw was Return of the Jedi. And it's like great fight, super emotional, super hard hitting, but it's like it was hit, and this is hit, and you're like, whoa, how are they doing this? They're doing backflips, they're spinning around. It was just a great time. So prequels, definitely Duel of the Fates. As far as embarrassing childhood stories, my neighbor had a zip line in his backyard.
And
I wanted to Attack of the Clones Anakin on the thing, or I'm sorry, Obi-Wan hanging on the thing while he's chasing him. Is it Anakin or it doesn't matter? Chasing like the Attack of the Clones car chasing, or he's holding on the thing.
It's Anakin. Oh no, that is Obi-Wan.
Obi-Wan's
hanging onto the probe.
And we had those like toy cops and robbers handcuffs. And I was like, I don't want to fall because this zip line. I'm when Attack of the Clones came out, I was 12. No, I would have been like 13, 14. We were just like hanging out in his backyard, and I was like, I got this, but I'm going to do this because I'm smart and I'm going to be attached to it so I won't fall and bust my head. So I get on the zip line like this, holding the little thing with the handcuffs, and I lose grip and slide out of the handcuffs and just rip the skin off of my wrist.
Well, did somebody catch you when you fell?
No.
And their XJ6 airspeeder?
Ow.
No, but that was my embarrassing Star Wars
you
childhood.
Just landed into like a shopping
story.
cart. What took you so long?
That sounds painful.
It was super, and like it was awful. It was like, they ask, "What were you doing?" I'm like, don't ask.
A lot of gauze. A lot of gauze.
It's worse if you ask.
Yeah. Char, yours is Duel of the Fates then?
So my prequel favorite fight is Duel of the Fates. I just love it. I just love the intensity that Darth Maul brought to that fight. Just right when the music cues, when red group, blue group, everybody this way, and then the doors open, and then Maul's just there. And I love all the edits of just like there's Bully McGuire, there's a shorter Maul, and then there's like a huge
Lego Maul.
Yeah, it's just that scene is so iconic, and then just watching Maul just whip the crap out of Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan in the hangar specifically,
Yeah.
and then he does like that he throws the object and then he spins it and then he
Ooh,
walks into
yeah,
the energy beam hallway,
Well,
and then it's
even kind of
there's
going
all
back
these
to like
close-ups.
going back to the Old Republic is like just the scene with the force field of like Qui-Gon meditating and Maul pacing back and forth. Like the regain life animation for the Old Republic for like the Sith was seethe, and it was just the Darth Maul animation, and for Jedi it was meditate, and they just sat down like Qui-Gon in the Old Republic. So it's just like, man, that whole scene was so impactful. Love it.
Yeah, I mean it literally that fight scene alone that changed what lightsaber duels meant for Star Wars fans.
Yeah.
That changed the landscape of it, because in the original trilogy, a lot of it was dialogue based. A lot of it was heavily focused on the words that were conveyed to the other character. Because Maul didn't say anything in that fight. Maul didn't say anything. I don't think a single word was said throughout that fight until Qui-Gon gets killed, and then Obi-Wan yells no.
Yep.
That was the only time where words were said. So just to like have that be straight up action the entire time, it was like it changed what it meant to create a Star Wars fight.
Yeah, I'll do the next two. I'm putting what?
Okay,
what-
well, I gotta do my other two.
no, because we're gonna come back around.
Oh, we're gonna go
round robining
Yeah.
trilogies.
Okay, so we're gonna
Wait,
we're
Luke,
gonna do
what was your show movie or your show fight? Are you just gonna wait?
Are we doing shows?
Well, I was gonna put the Obi-Wan Kenobi fight in the original trilogy.
The one with
The Kenobi fight in the show.
last one.
Yes.
No, that doesn't count. That's not
does.
an original trilogy movie or original trilogy.
It's in the Reign of the Empire. That's technically OT.
Yeah.
That's before Rebels. Rebels is considered original trilogy.
But it's still in the
there's
Reign of the Empire.
stormtroopers. I would say
There's
if there's
yeah.
stormtroopers,
Okay,
it's OT.
Perhaps you break it
original
down-
trilogy Obi-Wan has to be Alec Guinness. Obi-Wan. That's the only criteria I have to go.
No,
with.
no.
Clone
Has to be
Troopers.
Alec Guinness.
This is my guideline.
If
Clone
it's Ewan,
Troopers.
it's prequel.
Clone Troopers is prequel. Stormtroopers is OT. First Order Troopers is sequel. That's my bias on that. If there are stormtroopers around, it's OT.
I will say that fight and the Empire Strikes Back are tied for OT, and then sequels has to be Rey and Kylo on the Death Star too. Casey,
Yeah, so this is really hard. I definitely, talked about this. I'm gonna spitfire. If I was to break it up into like animated and live action shows, I think I'll just do shows. The duel between Obi-Wan and Maul from this episode, Twin Sons, is my favorite animated lightsaber duel. It's in my top 5. But to go into the sequel era, my favorite is I think the Throne Room in Episode 8, The Last Jedi. Episode 8 is in my top 5 films, and it's my favorite of the sequels. And I love that moment that between the Praetorian Guards.
yeah.
As far as the one on the remains of the second Death Star, I like it. I think I'd like it more. And if the music was a little different, I had this wild idea. If they had used like a Jedi's Fury, it's not the official track. It's with somebody. Samuel Kim does a lot of musical compositions for this stuff. But that music that plays during Vader and Luke, which is my favorite from the original trilogy.
Oh yeah.
If that music from that moment played during Ben versus Rey, the descendant of Palpatine and the descendant of Vader fighting on the remains of the second Death Star, that like a musical reference callback, I think that would have been really great. I loved listening to how John Williams talked about like when not to have music, and I love John Williams. But I think musical piece to incorporate that into that duel, given the environment, would have made it a little cooler for me. So my favorite from the sequels is the Praetorian Guards Throne Room, and then from the original trilogy, Vader versus Luke I love that. I think if I was to rank them, it'd be Battle of the
Vader
Heroes
versus Luke in
Vader versus Luke in Return of the Jedi.
Okay.
I love that one with the music and the emotion, how like raw and powerful it is. So Battle of the Heroes, Vader versus Luke in Return of the Jedi. And then from there, I don't really rank them, but the Throne Room and Maul versus Obi-Wan in Rebels, I love.
Yeah, I mean, even to touch on Twin Sons, like what I do love about the duel in this episode is it's a samurai duel. It is 100% the samurai. It is the dash towards each other. One of them blinks and realizes they've lost. It is not the grand, oh, you cut my head off, or oh no, I'm wounded. It is the, oh no, I've lost. It's all gone now. And I love that about this. It kind of taking it back to the roots of Star Wars and the samurai, Kurosawa film influences, and just like this, like even like playing stuff like Ghost of Tsushima makes me want like a Ghost of Tsushima Star Wars game more than anything. Like that is what, like, I love the Jedi Survivor
Kind
and
of like
Jedi Fallen Order.
a Ronin.
Yeah,
from
like
Visions, yeah.
I would love just I'm really excited about Outlaws, but like the open world, like where lightsaber duels are really quick and just like, hey, you hit them and they're done for. I love that. But to rank original trilogy, I'm with Casey pretty much on both of these. Is the Vader Luke fight on the second Death Star in Return of the Jedi. Like the weight of that fight is so heavy, and just like how Vader's taunting Luke with Leia, and like the rage that builds, like, and the anticipation of that duel of like, grab the lightsaber, Luke, do it, grab it, strike me down, and just like you're waiting for it to happen the whole time they're in that room together. And when it does happen, it's great. It's not flashy, it's not showy. Luke is hiding for some of it, and it's just like, oh, I love it. It is one of my like, as someone who like is not the biggest fan of Return of the Jedi, like I love that scene and how it's broken up. But yeah, sequels, definitely the throne room, like the way it looks, anything, and the energy and the improvisation of how they're defeating the Praetorian Guards. And the one thing I've always, since I've watched Star Wars and learned, like, okay, a lightsaber is just a really dangerous flashlight. The click on and off that we get with the Praetorian Guard when Rey throws Anakin's saber and Ben catches it. And I was like, when I watched that in the theater, I was like, it happened. The thing I've always wanted in Star Wars just happened. And I was ecstatic. That one is so good. But yeah, I mean, the fight with Ben, with Ben and Rey on the second Death Star, phenomenal. I would agree with John Williams in that one, like not having loud music in that, because that fight is so personal and it's so loud with the waves that it's just like, oh, it's so good. And like, honorable mention, Kylo versus the Knights of Ren is sick. I love that fight. Yeah. It's great. What about you?
Okay, Char, round us off.
All right. Original trilogy, mine is Vader versus Luke in Empire Strikes Back, because it's just,
damn.
Vader
is the wrong fight. That's what happened.
Yeah. Where Vader is sitting on the top of the staircase, and it's just his silhouette, and he just goes,
"The Force is with you, young Skywalker."
This is my segment. This is my part.
But you're fucking it up. You didn't know it.
What are you talking about? The Force is with you, young Skywalker, but you are not a Jedi yet.
Yeah, but you
Luke, don't get me started, dude. If you want to test me on my Empire Strikes Back knowledge, go ahead, buddy.
You hesitated.
Okay, it was for the suspense.
Go.
Luke, you do not rush me. Do not rush me. No, seriously, do not fucking rush me. And then sequel trilogy, mine's definitely the throne room fight with Kylo and Rey, because it was just so interesting, because we hardly ever see the good guys and bad guys fighting together. I mean, the only few times we see it is Asajj Ventress and Obi-Wan.
That's also a real
Clone Wars.
Obi-Wan igniting a red lightsaber was like a really cool moment.
Oh yeah, red's not my color.
Yeah, it is. Like, and watching those two go at it against Maul and Swatch, that's a great moment. Also, honorable mention, Sabine and Kanan. That is a phenomenal fight. And obviously they're not trying to hurt each other, but just like when he's egging her on to get her to like get it, and it's like, oh man, that's so good.
it's such it's a big learning experience for her because it's
Yeah.
like, yeah, this is the type
I
of crap
hope
that
in
we have to deal with.
Ahsoka that she can reverse that with someone, and she can teach someone kind of the same way that Kanan taught her. I really hope we get something like that in Ahsoka.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then honorable mention, I definitely have to go with Ahsoka and Maul in season 7, as what Haley mentioned earlier.
Yeah.
Because that fight was so well choreographed. Just seeing the motion cap with the animation, it just felt so smooth. It didn't. You would think that it would be off-putting, but it was so smooth that the way that the sabers looked different. It wasn't the super quick animation movements from the prior seasons.
Yeah, I didn't really
looked
like
clear.
the Clone Wars lightsaber fights. Essentially up until that point, and I was like, okay, it's a show about Obi-Wan, Anakin, and Ahsoka. So yes, we're gonna get lightsaber fights galore, but I never really liked them. You're right; they were super choppy, and it's very clear that they were like keyframed, like lightsaber go here, lightsaber go there. And with this one, that was like, two people actually fought this out. It looks so good. It looks really good.
It does.
Yeah, but that's my 3. Duel of the Fates, Vader and Luke ESB, and Throne Room Last Jedi.
Yep. Well, I don't really. Okay. Which version of Maul do you prefer? Clone Wars, The Phantom Menace, Clone Wars, or Rebels Maul?
Or Solo Maul.
I fucking hate Clone Wars Maul.
I
I
Is it
hate
'cause it's
Spider. I
Is
hate
it-
Spider Maul.
Is it because he's shirtless half the time?
That's not it. I think in season 7 he becomes more interesting. I don't like unhinged Maul. I think he's kind of goofy.
Don't tell Alanis that because she thinks that he should have stayed that way. I think that would have been interesting.
I can't express my hatred. I can't express my hatred for Spider Maul. Like that is like going back to like sequel stuff. People got upset about somehow Palpatine returned. Y'all forgot about Spider Maul so fucking quick.
That's so true. That's
I love Maul in the Clone Wars, and I think that's where my appreciation for the character really came in. I think he, like I've said before, he's my favorite antagonist in Star Wars, and I just really love the characterization and like the performance that Sam gives to the character. I like he's cool in the Phantom Menace, and I also love Duel of the Fates. I don't think I mentioned that. I do love that, but like the character of Maul, I just find to be really fascinating. And seeing his downfall and then trying to build back up and then falling again. But in the Clone Wars, I think the character style and also just the voice performance that goes into it, and especially the moment where he confronts Palpatine or Palpatine confronts Maul and Savage on Mandalore, like that whole thing, I remember going, like that's another lightsaber battle, but there's too many to really pick. But like, I love Maul.
There's no bad lightsaber fights.
Really, 100% true.
No, yeah, I agree with that. Yeah, there is no bad lightsaber fights.
I mean, even some of the lightsaber fights in Jedi Survivor are amazing.
Yeah,
Like the
I've not
fight
played
between the ninth.
Yeah, I was gonna say something about. I was like, I shouldn't say anything.
Yeah, I was
There's
about
one
to-
bad lightsaber fight. that I
I'm so
fucking hate.
sorry. I still got my Xbox console from 8 years ago, and it's not.
Wait, you
compatible.
say you haven't played it or you haven't?
no, he
finished
hasn't. He hasn't played it.
I don't have a
Oh.
compatible console.
it?
Yeah,
I'll just
don't
say-
just don't. You're good.
Yeah,
I blocked
I-
my ears.
I
I'll-
personally, I
it's,
love the
it's
Phantom Menace.
the first one where
No.
Cal goes.
Oh yeah.
That one was cool.
Yeah. that was cool.
Yeah, I like Phantom Menace Maul. I really like silent, dark, and broody Maul. I think I also really like Rebels Maul. I like the deceptive, plotting, and conniving Maul a lot. Like crime boss, crazy
Old
Maul
grandpa
didn't do it for me. Yeah.
or a crazy uncle.
Yeah. Like he's like, yeah, like I like the Maul that tells you that jet fuel can't melt steel beams. Like that is he's like, hey, Ezra, I hate to break it to you. The lightsabers, they don't melt steel beams. Like you remember Order 66, right? Let me tell you how that didn't actually happen. That was a separatist conspiracy theory. It's really unfortunate, but yeah, it didn't happen. Anyways, I need you to grab this holocron for me.
Oh my god, that's great.
I need to get my. Can you help me get my fix for my dark side holocron? I'll pay you back. Just don't tell your mom.
That,
That's a great mall.
That is a great mall. That is a great mall. I personally hate Maul. I don't like his character at all. Like, to be honest,
I like him.
So I think he's like the biggest loser. He's the biggest loser out of anybody in the Star Wars universe.
Luke, so are you. You're a big loser.
When Satine when he kills Satine, like I think he does grow into his like villain.
He's finally in his really villain era.
He's in his villain. He was trying to get in his villain era, but he's kind of in his bad guy era.
He wasn't getting the cut.
I just like I almost wish like when like Obi-Wan's holding to Satine, you just have like one of those like girls is like it's giving cringe.
What the fuck? Oh, shit.
But yeah, I love, and I think a lot of that for me is nostalgia of like Darth Maul in the Phantom Menace. Like who's the demon man? We haven't seen him before. And how the fuck did he get a lightsaber that shoots out on both ends? I need to know more about this guy. Oh, he dies. Oh, and then he turns into a fucking spider. I don't know if I like Star Wars anymore, guys.
But
somehow Palpatine returned. Worst thing they've ever done.
J. Jonah Obi-Wan Spider Ball.
Oh my god. All right. Well,
Char, no, yeah, my favorite Darth Maul's gotta be the Phantom Menace, because he says 3 lines in the entire movie. He says, "Yes, my master," and then he's like, "Tatooine is sparsely populated, and if the trace is correct, I will find them quickly, master. At last we will reveal ourselves to the Jedi. At last we will have revenge." Luke, where were you quoting that? Huh? Where were you there? Come on.
It wasn't mine to quote. It's
no, but it was your job to get in there and say it for me.
Oh, are you talking? Oh, was I supposed to be Palpatine there?
What? I'm kidding.
Anyway, okay. So Char, Phantom Menace. All right. Maul's okay. He's garbage. Actually,
you gotta pick one. You gotta pick one.
I will say I do kind of like unhinged Maul, Spider Maul. He's just hilarious, but yeah, no.
Well, I mean, like, you got the best duo in the house right here. Back when Celebration, when I met Ray Park and Ian McDiarmid.
Oh yeah,
like
in 2019.
Yeah, it's Celebration.
Yeah, 2019. Yeah.
That's
so cool.
Yeah.
Ray Park and Ian, because you know why? Because they're the best duo.
False. And you know who my pick is, but we're not gonna go there. What were your guys' thoughts on the episode, and then we'll get to ranking it and kind of have a little discussion about things going on in Star Wars.
Thoughts on the episode?
Yep.
Yeah. So I mean, if I was to have a handful of my favorite episodes of Star Wars Rebels, this is up in the top 3. I think for me personally. Because now, hearing from you, not a huge fan of Maul. Me being a big fan of Maul, but also a big fan of Obi-Wan, and to see that character be brought in, just and the adventure that kind of Ezra being the thing to tie them together, that kind of brings them back after so long, and seeing that rivalry kind of come to a close. It was a bit of a diversion from like the main narrative of Rebels, but seeing that all come to fruition was really cool, and it is one of my favorite episodes of the show.
It's satisfying.
Yes,
it's very satisfying.
Yeah,
to be honest. Chase?
Yeah, I mean, like I said in the beginning, like I obviously watched Rebels a lot later, but knowing what happens, and I had a pretty similar like feeling when I watched Jedi Knight of like, yes, I know what happens, I know how it happens. It has been spoiled for me, and this was almost like a confirmation that like spoilers aren't that big of a deal. Like I know that Maul dies. I know how he dies. I've seen the scene 100 times on the internet, but watching it was still such a treat. And it's just like, it was so impactful. Like what I think is wild about this, even like rewatching it, is like I was like, I forgot everything that happened in this episode before the fight. Like it's such an impactful moment, and I think it's so well done. I think the animation looks great, and I think a lot of times when we see like the lightsabers in Rebels, they're moving a lot, and so we don't see the thin style that like they kind of got critiqued for, that they really wanted it to be this Ralph McQuarrie like homage in the show. And when we see these two lightsabers just like standing still, we see how thin they've made them, and it's just like, man, this is great. When I first watched like the first 2 episodes of Rebels, I also watched it on Disney XD because I was like, oh, new Star Wars show, I should watch this. And I really enjoyed it, but I was like, someone who did not like the Clone Wars and could not even get through season 1, like this was such a relief of like, oh, this feels like Star Wars again. There's TIE fighters, there's stormtroopers. Like I really, really like this. And then kind of watching this episode and just seeing that lightsaber fight, and it very much feels like the fight with Vader and Obi-Wan on the Death Star, of like this, like there's not a lot of clashing. There's not, and obviously this happens much quicker, but it's just like, this is an emotional scene with a lot of dialogue and a lot of background. And I absolutely love this episode. It's great. It's probably one of my favorite like animated Star Wars episodes ever.
Yeah. Sure.
Well, Ezra met Obi-Wan Kenobi. That's a win for me. But the fight is what puts the cherry on the cake. It's so good. Like I mentioned before, it is a top 3 Star Wars fight for me. And the reason why, it's because it's that quick. It shows you that not 12-minute long fights have to be good. It could be very, very short. It could get right to the point. And it could generate a huge like uproar, because when you see the fact that Maul dies in Obi-Wan's arms, it's symbolic in a way, to be like, this rivalry has been going on for 30 years, literally 30 years, where Maul and Kenobi first met, where they dueled on Naboo, where Obi-Wan cut him in half. Maul spent all this time returning, faces Obi-Wan again, and then floor him. He gets his his leg problem. Like, there's so much stuff that happens within that 30-year gap, and it ends with Obi-Wan giving him closure. Like, it's interesting.
Yeah, it is really good.
It really puts a smile on my face at the end. It doesn't make me so much sad that like, oh no, Maul, he's finally he actually dies this time.
Ding dong, the witch is dead finally.
Yeah.
Sorry, Chase.
Yes. That was funny.
Sorry.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. Yeah, just the fight. Ezra met Obi-Wan, and the little Luke came at the end too. It was like, Obi-Wan still has work to do.
Yep. It's a great episode. It's one of my favorites from Rebels, and but everybody pretty much said what I was gonna say. So yeah. I'm assuming we're all gonna give it Grand Admiral, right?
Oh, it's a Grand Admiral for me.
It's a Grand Admiral.
100% Grand Admiral.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, cool. So it's a Grand Admiral. I don't know how many that
Hey, Luke,
is.
I don't know if maybe you want to. I know this was kind of cut off from the outline, but there's some facts that I want to talk about real quick.
Okay.
If you want me to mention them.
I would love to hear 3 interesting facts. If you have 3 interesting facts. But they have to be interesting facts. They can't just be facts.
All right.
Yeah.
And
3 interesting facts about a certain Rebels arc that you didn't know about until now. Part 40, Twin Suns Edition. Fact 1. The initial group for Tatooine. The holocron fragments guiding Ezra's path were not always in the story. Instead, there was more to Ezra and Kanan arriving on Tatooine and following a path of clues left by Maul. Fact 2. The original basically outline for what was going to become of Tatooine. The episode originally called for a character named Muta Ngatu. Ngatu was fully designed prior to being cut from the episode. He was a merchant in a remote outpost that would tell Ezra some information on where to go next in his search for Maul. So it would have been a lot more complicated. Fact 3: the silhouette of Luke Skywalker. Luke Skywalker would be the same age as Ezra, give or take a few days. In fact, the animation model seen only in silhouette is a reuse of the season 3 Ezra Bridger model. And there you have it. Those are the 3 interesting facts about Twin Sons.
Guess what? Somebody
Beautiful.
guess what? I picked one of your 3 interesting facts, so now you can't say
Good
that
job.
I've never
I'm
done
so
it.
glad that you were igniting your lightsaber 5 times as I was talking.
Hey, my ADHD's kicking in really bad today. Okay.
It gets the best of us.
We'll hit a couple of topics before we head out of here. Obviously we got Star Wars Outlaws.
Yeah.
Which
Which
looks
I have not seen the
absolute-
trailer yet. I have not seen the
Really?
trailer
You
yet.
haven't seen the
Yeah,
trailer?
I have
You haven't seen the
not
trailer
seen it.
or the gameplay?
I've seen a little bit of the gameplay.
It
I
looks
saw something
fantastic.
of the
It
main
is-
character.
It
They
looks-
were hanging from like this conveyor belt.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was like something. It was like
Yeah.
a box. I
Dude,
don't know, I saw
it
something.
looks really, really good. I
This-
cannot wait. Like Alanis texted me and goes, "Yeah, I'm getting a PS5," and I go, "Why? I have one. I'm moving there. Like we can just play together."
Yeah.
The
But
moment they gave a commando droid a trench coat is the moment I was sold.
Yeah.
wait, Chase. I mean, not Chase. Oh fuck, Casey. You're a droid simp.
I guess
that
so.
droid?
I am now.
Nice.
I mean, I am now.
Nice. No shame whatsoever. We
As
love
of
it.
last week, droid simping.
It really took hold.
No, this game really looks good. This is a game that I have. I'm not gonna say it's like my dream Star Wars game, but it is something that I've wanted for a while, like a planet hopping exploration, not Jedi focused, like Star
Yes.
Wars game. Like I did a video on the ship. The ship looks incredible. I like cargo ships are like, to me, have always been the backbone of Star Wars. Like the Millennium Falcon is not a fighter. It's a cargo ship. It's a freighter. And like the fact that she's going around in the freighter and that Nyx, oh my, like,
Yeah, Nick's supremacy.
I don't think I will ever get tired. Like, cool companion or cool character, adorable companion. Like Din and Grogu, Cal and BD1, and now with Outlaws and Nyx. Like, oh my god, perfect.
Yeah, I mean,
love it.
There's been times where they've tried to make games that weren't heavily involved with the Jedi, like Squadrons, for example. But I don't feel like everyone. I don't feel like everyone wanted. Everyone didn't want to be confined to a cockpit, I guess.
Yeah.
So like with this being open world and within the time period, a very similar time period as Squadrons, it's a cool concept to be able to go around and visit different parts of the galaxy and crime syndicates and whatnot.
Yeah, with an open world system, like you have a lot of opportunity to just throw whatever you want in there. Like, hey, like it's not part of the story, but like here's like someone from Squadrons, here's someone from Jedi Fallen Order. You know, here's this character, here's that person, or you can talk to these people. Like you have a lot of opportunity with that. I think the Grand Theft Auto series does this really well for its fan base, where it's like, hey, the story is not about this character, but we're gonna throw him in anyways, like just for fun. So I think we have opportunity for that. It really does look like a ton of fun. And it looks like a game. I mean, to be fair, it's an Ubisoft game and they don't have the best track record. Like, only make open world games now, but a lot of those games are kind of the same. So hopefully they break away from that a little bit. And
so just to clarify, so this game takes place before Return of the Jedi.
It's in the 3-year gap.
Yeah, it's between 5 and 6.
Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi. Yeah,
There's only a 1-year gap between, but
I thought it was 3.
It was 1. It's 1 year gap. Empire is 3 ABY. Since you know Empire so much. Yeah, but yeah, I was surprised to hear that because I was like, wait, there's still like I saw the commando droid with the trench coat, and I was like, really? In the Imperial original trilogy era, this is so cool. It's like I haven't seen the trailer, but just seeing the different characters and how they look and how they fit in, how they look to appear to fit in with everything. Like
Yeah.
that alone excites me. Like I want to
Yeah.
know about these characters. And with Chase saying that, characters from Survivor could potentially like segue into these games.
Would be interesting.
That's cool. That's cool.
Would be interesting. Moving into Ahsoka, we're officially 2 months in into Ahsoka watch. We've got there you go. We've got some drama about the way Ahsoka looks. Again, it's like the same fucking thing every 2 weeks. If it's
is
not
this-
the way Hera
it's the-
looks, it's
Is this
the
it's
the
the
same
way
from-
Rosario
Yes,
Dawson.
people are upset that
cross-arm.
she's crossing her arms too much.
He's always crossed her arm.
Yeah,
For me, it's not even that. It's just like, what life do you lead? Where like your worldview and like your enjoyment of something is thrown off and like shattered by something like that. Like the Cad Bane nose, the Ahsoka Montrell's being too short.
God forbid that if they wouldn't have done the eyes the way that Thrawn has in the show, like that was something that we were all worried about.
But like I just like I'm very much a wait and see type of person. Like
Agreed.
I don't watch a ton of trailers. Like I've seen the Outlaw trailers. Those are probably going to be the only 2 trailers I watch of that game. Like I'm sure next year we'll see more and more stuff from Ubisoft about that game. Like Jedi Survivor, I watched the first trailer and didn't watch anything else. Like I heard there was new stances, and then I kind of just went into it blind. Like I watched the Starfield Direct, and that was enjoyable, but I probably won't watch anything else Starfield in the months coming up for that. But like I am very much like, hey, it's coming. I want to experience it, and like I want to see who shows up. I want to see what happens. I want to see who fights who and stuff like that. I don't need to know every single detail before
Agreed.
I watch the show. And like the people who get so fixated on that stuff and they ruin their own experience doing that. I was just like, you are so focused on how Sabine's hair look or how Ahsoka's arms are that you're not paying attention to the show at hand. And I'm like, that sounds miserable.
Yeah, it literally is. It's just another week. It's not another week in Star Wars Twitter. That's why
I don't use Twitter.
Which it's just so funny when people talk about Sabine's hair. I'm like, did you not watch Rebels? Her hair changed every season. It looks different in every season, not just with color, but in length as well. So you can't be over here telling us that it looks bad, even though we've seen it change season by season years ago in Rebels. Like it's nothing new.
Yeah. Casey, your thoughts?
Oh, yeah, I agree. I certainly am not one to get caught up on like the way something looks. I will say I think I've fallen like a middle ground. Like Cad Bane, I thought looked phenomenal, like different. It's hard to adapt something completely from animation. And I know that the Duro showed up in A New Hope, but they weren't moving their mouth. And I think accommodating for that is important. And I thought I loved Cad Bane's design. I was freaking out when he showed up. Like that was amazing. On the other hand, though, with instances like the Grand Inquisitor, I didn't let it take, I'm not going to harp on it or continue to focus like any negative energy on that. I do think that, there's certainly room for improvement in that regard, though, because it was kind of hard for me to be like, I knew he was the Grand Inquisitor, but looking at that, I wouldn't go, that's a Palin. So like, just as far as some of the stuff goes, like crafting some of these characters, I think there's a way to go about that kind of criticism without being overtly negative. And so like you look at like how they adapted Zeb into the latest season of The Mandalorian. Phenomenal, like to a T almost. And I think it was aided a little bit by the Lasat. I think because there was the Lasat Jaro Tapal in Jedi Fallen Order.
Yes.
People were a little bit prepared for like how the differences would look. But I agree. I don't think it should be like you shouldn't be focusing all of your energy on that. But I understand some of like the criticisms to an extent.
No, yeah, absolutely. I am.
But like the hair and like the crossed arms, that is like it makes zero sense, especially because like with the crossed arms.
That's literally
it's
that's her
always been
signature.
there.
Yeah, that's her
Exactly.
signature. Yeah, it's her signature. And I'm just like, whatever. Fuck it. Who gives a shit? I can't wait for the show to come out. It's gonna be amazing. It's gonna be well done. But
I'm
yeah.
hyped.
Yeah, absolutely. But that's gonna be it for this episode, guys. Chase, Casey, thank you for coming on. Casey, where
course.
can the good people follow you?
Yeah, Swacer 1977. There is an underscore between Swacer 1977. I usually forget to mention that, but yeah, TikTok is where I'm primarily at. I try every day, but YouTube, Instagram, same thing. So yeah,
Awesome. Love having you on, man.
Thank
Chase.
Yeah, follow me Forward Into the Black on TikTok and also on Twitch. Like I said, I'm talking about Star Wars and mostly Star Wars, and then a little bit of Star Citizen here and there. But yeah,
Char, where can the good people follow you?
Good people, you can find me on TikTok, Twitter, and Instagram at CharJ, as spelled right here. And you can find me here at the Podwans Podcast every Thursday night as we cover our Star Wars Rebels rewatch. Check us out next week as we finish season 3 with season 3, episodes 21 and 22, 0 Hour.
You can follow Hereth at Hereth Productions on all social medias, I believe. You can follow us at the Pod Ones on all social medias. You can follow me if you want to see what I do, not on the Pod Ones. Jedi Master Eggs on all social medias, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. So if you guys want to see what I have my takes on that aren't on Pod Ones, that'd be great. But yeah, that's gonna be it.
do you guys have anything going on right now?
Oh shit, yeah. Trivia tournament. Match 2, JJ versus Nick, codename Fulcrum. The promo will drop tomorrow. Hereth is, I think, almost done editing it. I think he should be done on Saturday. But yeah, be on the lookout for that. Sunday, 8 Eastern and 5 Pacific. Yeah, it's gonna be an interesting match. I know the winner, but y'all don't. So yeah,
Which, that match is interesting.
it is. It's a good
Yeah,
one. It's a good one. It's a good
I'm
one.
excited to see you guys watch it
Yeah, it's a good one.
because
But-
it's back and forth and it's very interesting. So
Yep,
Yep.
absolutely. But that's gonna be it. We will see you next time, and may the force be with you
always.
always.